sure you have something to talk about that is beautiful, and I'd love to hear it. So,
Alright, this is the Psychedelic View, and we're going to talk about some new topics tonight. It's my second video, and I'm just getting more comfortable with things. I'm still open, looking for guests. I have a list of them getting ready. I'm not going to cast the videos yet, just because there's some things that I want to do first. But anyways, a couple things I want to talk about today is free will versus power, schizophrenia, astral projection, functions and how these functions in our reality and how we can be or not be our environment and what environments to function or plug into. And these are all very important things to escaping the modern mind of the consumer, essentially. And to some, it may be social gadfly, which is, look it up. But for others, it may be a feeling of acceptance and understanding and somebody that they can relate to, or just add to the conversation. So the first thing one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is free will versus power. I've always thought power, free will. Does free will bring power? And all these questions, and I've kind of come to the realization you can even watch Star Wars and see the power consume the power. The problem with power, is that power, it consumes itself, because power will get only more powerful, and it's almost like a cycle that's never full. While on the other hand, you have free will, which is freedom, which is lightness, which is of a feather, which is the ability to have freedom. And freedom don't necessarily mean power. You think, I have freedom means I can do whatever I want, I can have power. Well, not exactly. True freedom comes with humility. True freedom comes with beauty, things that are pleasant and beautiful and kind, and it's not a power thing. It's not driven by power. It's not something that one keeps to oneself. We all can have free will. It's not kept to one. It's not a thing of power. We must release this power. This power is a mechanism to defend ourselves against a world in which we've created, and this is something else I'd love to talk about, a risk society. We live in a high risk society. We're driving, mechanical machines that have fire shot through them, and we're blasting off, and we're riding jets, and we're playing with chemicals, and there's so many things in this society that's so risky, and it's kind of part of life at this point. But I'm just saying, maybe life doesn't have to be so risky, and how this might play into this complex of free will and power. And if you try to just achieve power, you'll never achieve anything, because it never works that way. I found that through my life. You have to just meld with things. And I just think that's something to think about, is don't always try to control, just understand. Well, the next thing I want to get onto is schizophrenia. Yeah, that's something I talk about a lot. I'll kind of skim through it quickly on this one. I just want to talk about my opinion on it. I think everyone in their life has had a moment where they probably would be considered a symptom of that. What I mean is, life is prophetic. Is it prophetic? I think that's how you would say it. But everybody has a prophecy. Everyone does. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a reason, and some would see that as schizophrenic, in the society's norm terms, society's, because that's all schizophrenia is. These schizophrenics, they see things beyond society, and we look at that as odd or weird, but in reality, they're just sensing something that we can't see, or there's something that is there, and and that's another thing I go on to about these places that they put. I'm just saying this is something that I'm passionate about, because I don't think it's right to treat people this way, to put them through shock therapy, give medication, to throw them into hospitals. You might have the one or two case where it's just way out of control, but this is still not the way to do it. It's not the way shamans would handle it. It's not the way anybody should handle it. Everybody has these psychotic breaks in life. Regardless if they say they do or no, I see it every day. I mean, to me, more sane people can seem crazy sometimes. And so when you take somebody with these other senses, these senses out, otherworldly senses, and you put them in an environment such like this, you just run into the problem of, because they're so sensitive, because these environments are dark, because these environments are claustrophobic, because the environments are medicated and numbing, and you're told you're wrong and all this, it can take somebody who maybe like is onto something, maybe something bigger, into something darker, because the environment now that they're in is dark, and they're seeing this environment as dark, you're seeing these people as dark. And it can be very, traumatic for somebody that sensitive. But yet a lot of schizophrenics, believe it or not, could probably come off as not being, and you would never know sometimes. And to me, that itself is just enough to know that these people have maybe a special thing about them that is powerful, and it can change the world for the positive, possibly. It's like the universe is pushing something so extreme to try to change the mold of the society in the outer rims, and create this new thinking that may seem schizophrenic at first, but yet, because I think as the future goes on and on, there will be more of this schizophrenic feeling. And this is where I say that social gadfly comes in. This is uneasy. Nobody likes to think about these things. I mean, that word used to scare me when I was a child, just because of how I was taught and told. But now I just kind of realize that they're just people. They're just you and me. But they're just seeing things that are outside of cultural standards. And the other thing about it is what I've heard this also through the woodworks, is that people that tend to be schizophrenic, they can create schizophrenia and craziness among other groups of people. Like, what I mean is, it can be contagious. It's something I've heard, and I don't, it makes sense, you know what I mean? It can be contagious because it's the reality that's being produced, and if one is around it enough, that's what they be. So if you're in a mental ward and you're around a bunch of people that are already in this, then bam, it's going to create a further negative space. It's the aura, it's the energy, it's whatever you want to call it, the mana, the mana, I don't know, chi, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I mean, astral projection, something I am so passionate about. Before I went to the world of psychedelics, astral projection is what set me on this path. It was what made me connected to the tryptamine family, because to me it is extremely similar to astral projection. A lot of people talk about astral projection on the internet. There's a lot of stories about it. But I've had so many experiences with astral projection, and I cannot dare talk about all of them in detail, or any of this in just one video. I would rather not. I would draw it out. But there will be videos in the future where I get more in depth with this. But I wanted to start out with saying, the one thing, there was a breakthrough with astral projection that I had recently, in which I had seen from the inside of my head. I was able to astral project, and I was able to view and from inside, and I could see my two eyes in rapid eye movement, and I could see the third eye, they call it. I just call it the seat of the conscious, the seat of the soul. I could see the seat of the soul is sitting there, and it was shooting out these patterns and colors that I have seen before, at least similar to ones I've seen before under tryptamine trances. And this is completely real. This is within this mode of astral projection, and I seen it, and it completely blew my mind to see that we are our body. Do not forget that we are our body. What we eat, what we consume, who we are, that's our body. We cannot forget that. We must treat our body with respect. We must, be healthy and treat our body with complete respect. That's the machine operating, and the conscious or the soul is part of wherever we came from to operate this machine, but we also are this machine. So, but just seeing that completely blew my mind, and I'm trying to astral project and get it down to a science, because I sometimes I can do it frequently, and for me a lot of the science involves I tend to do it in the daytime, because I don't completely fall asleep. I'm trying to stay within that state of sleep paralysis or whatever. It becomes much easier over time, by the way. But if I could, there's lots of things I want to do with it. I want to heal people, and things like that, because I have had experiences where I was healing dark entities, and I think that is possible with astral projection if we know how to utilize it. More people should be focusing on it. I don't know. For me, it was innate. It just kind of happened. But there'll be videos in the future where I just kind of talk about what techniques I think can help facilitate this experience. But that is something deep to me, something real to me, completely real. I'm a believer, 90%, because, never want to be 100%. But I am a believer in that one, 90%, for sure. But it's 100% felt. Not talking about belief, I'm just talking about feltness. It feels real 100%. 10% of me says yes, it could be a highly active imagination. But the 90% of me says it's more likely that it's just part of reality, and it is a part of somewhere accessing this dimension, other than just being egotistical and saying, well, I must have a very high imagination. That would be an extremely high imagination. Compared to the general population of people that don't astral project, to say that you can enter these dimensions, or you can not even just enter dimensions, but leave your body and explore the world that you live in, and it's so real. And it believe me, just these videos, I'm gonna get deeper into it, but right now I have more to talk about. Last thing I want to talk about, I'll do two more things. Functions, vibrations. Something I want to talk about is I've kind of came to this epiphany in which our body is made up of functions, and this reality is made up of functions. And if you do too much of one thing, aka, if you were to smoke marijuana 24/7 every day, all you would see is marijuana. And smoking marijuana once in a while, not even once in a while, but maybe once or twice a day in light amounts, I would imagine could be therapeutic and mind expanding. But when you do something of too much, you see it. If all you do is drink coffee all the time, you see it. If all you do is watch TV, that's all you see. You see what I'm saying? It's about functions. It's about what setting do you want to input yourself into. What your reality around you is part of your input, and what you associate with is associated with you. And you must only associate with the things that are right, and you'll know that with instinct, or with understanding, or even you could even reach it with personal exploration. Knowing what to input into your diet, knowing what you need, it's understanding the inputs within your mind and your body and your soul. All three of these things, your soul or conscious, whatever you want to call it. You call it energy, you could call it a million things. It doesn't matter. It's just the third part of it's the mind, the body. 15-minute limit on YouTube right now, so I will split this episode into 2 parts. But more views, more subscribers, we can cut this crap, and I can have videos as long as they need to be, I assume. So just watch the second part.